have Spain, we have Switzerland, very clear, France, Ireland, Northern Europe. And then in Europe, mostly it gets very crowded, also with the signs, so that you can't really then see the countries. So thank you very much, everyone, for sharing where you are from. And now we will actually go directly. I will hand over to Noah, who will lead us now the system. He will share. Excuse me, before I continue, we also have someone here from in Australia. Hello, Pip, welcome. So now Noah, I would like to hand over to you, and Noah will lead us in detail through the OMNI system, and we are very curious about your first feedback on that. Noah, over to you.
Thank you, Claudia. So before I start, just a humble reminder to turn off all your mics, because I every now and then hear some rustling in the background. So yes, exactly. As Olivia says in the chat, please mute yourself for the time being. There'll be some Q&A after, and then you can ask your questions and turn your mics back on. Anywho, jumping right in, I will be now showcasing to you our new data portal. And it is called OMNI, as Claudia mentioned, for omniscience, for all-knowing, and I'm quite excited. So I'll jump right into showing you how the dashboard works, how you can then start an assessment, answer the criteria, delegate questions to sub-users, and these terms will be explained more throughout this, how to add your files, supporting documents, answer new questions, and of course also edit your public profile page, which will be displayed on the GDS website. Okay. Share my screen with you, and I hope this is coming through fine. Could I see a thumbs up from the people that I see on the screen, just to make sure that you see it? Yes, okay, fantastic. So what you're presented with here is the dashboard. And the dashboard is essentially the overview that allows you to always have an overview of what is going on with your assessment that year, and also have a little performance overview over how you performed in the last year. As you can see here, this is just where you'd see notifications, and I'll explain that a bit more in a second. This is where you see your basic information. So that's what plan you're on, what destination you are. I'm here impersonating Gothenburg, and how many assessments you've completed. And then here, this will show your assessment progress of that current year. And once we've started an assessment, some additional elements will showcase here, which I'll show you in a second. And then below, you see the performance overview of that past year. So you can see your total score there, your overall rank, your country rank, your region rank. You can do some internal analysis, by identifying or by finding out exactly how well you scored in each of the 4 sections, how you have evolved over the 4 years, or however many years you've participated in, how you've changed your rank over the years in each of the categories, how cities with a similar population to you are performing, and also how other cities in your region are performing. And these graphs are dynamic. So say I don't really want to know how Copenhagen performs in this case, just hypothetically, and then you can click on that name in the legend, and ta-da, the bar in the graph will disappear. And clicking it again will make it reappear. Okay, that's in brief the dashboard, and something to say is, of course, that for new destinations, this performance overview won't be populated yet. It'll only be populated once your first assessment has been evaluated. Okay. Moving forward, to start an assessment, you navigate here into the assessments page. And as we said, you will be able to choose which categories you want to answer this year. This means that when you click on actions and start assessment, this pop-up will appear, allowing you to select whichever categories you would like to answer. Now, I'm very ambitious in this hypothetical scenario and want to answer all 4. Click then run the action, and I will be brought to the overview of all the criteria. Yeah, so sorry, first, of course, an info overview, just when I started it, when it is due, the status, and the progress. And then for each of the 4 sections, there exists a little tab. In each tab, of course, there's all the criteria for those sections. And you can also then look at all of the criteria in one tab if you so desire. What I wanted to show you earlier, right, on the dashboard was that what changes is the current assessment progress once you've started an assessment. As you can see here, you've now got these 4 little elements which indicate how much progress you have made in each of the 4 sections. So once you've started to answer these questions, right now it's red because we've answered 0 criteria. And once we've started answering, this percentage will go up. And before I actually show you how to answer questions, I want to, because as I do this, I also want to show you how you can delegate questions. I will have to show you how you can create sub-users. And a sub-user can be anyone. That can be someone from the local council. That can be someone else in your team. It's simply someone who you want to assign a certain set of criteria to. And you do this by going up here into, in this case, it'll be your name, right? The name of the user. Then the account settings. And within the account settings, you can change your user details. So that's your password, email, name, surname. You can create sub-users, and you can add destination contacts. I won't add a new sub-user now, but I'll just show you what it looks like. You just enter the name, surname, email, password, and a short biography. And the email and password is what you would then give to the sub-user, to the person that works in the local council, to the other person that works in your office. I've already created a little dummy, John Doe, and with this in mind, I will now navigate using the dashboard into the environmental section. Yeah, so I'll just click here on environmental, and it will bring up the environmental tab. Just to explain this a little bit more, you can search the criteria here. So for example, I'm only interested in looking at waste at the moment. And this will then show, it will just show all the criteria that have to do with waste. These little tick boxes here on the left-hand side, these are for the delegation of criteria that I just talked about. So say I want to delegate EN1 to EN4 to John Doe because John Doe works in the environmental department in my city. I then go to delegate answers here in this action menu, select this, I choose the user, John, and I run the action. This will then show that these questions have been delegated successfully to the selected sub-user. And you will still be able to see these criteria and edit them, but this sub-user now has their own login account, and all they will see is essentially those 4 questions that you've assigned them to, or however many you've assigned them to. Okay, when it comes to answering questions, this will be the same for you as it is for the sub-user. You simply click here on the answer button, and you'll be presented with this view of the question. And the question is always, starts with the criteria code, the subcategory, and then the question itself. Before you actually go ahead and answer these questions, we really highly recommend and urge you to look at the guiding notes, which you can access up here in the separate tab. So in these guiding notes, you'll find information about what kind of information we're really looking for and what type of evidence we would ideally want from you so that we can verify that your answer is correct. The Glossary tab up here serves a similar purpose, but more generally for terms that may require further elaboration and explanation. So here, if there's any terms that you don't understand, feel free to look at this glossary to gain clarification. And when it comes to answering the question, you, in this case, have a multi-select answer. So we can select multiple tick boxes. And there are different types of questions, right? Some are numerical, so some will have just a numerical answer box, and you just type in the number in there. In this case, we're a hypothetically fantastic destination. We have all 5 of these things. We have a climate mitigation adaptation strategy, and it includes reference to tourism, events and meetings, and our city has declared a climate emergency. Of course, I need to explain this in a little bit more detail, so I'll add a little bit of extra information to this text box below. And this text box, unlike in the past year, will exist for every question. So every question will have this text box to allow you to elaborate on your response. As I mentioned, when we are looking at the guiding notes, it is crucial that you add some type of proof or supporting documents. And you can do that in two ways. You can either add a proof link or a supporting document. And you can add multiple. So hypothetically, let's add a proof link here. Yeah, just add this link here. I'll paste it into this proof link box. And I'll add a short description. And that's all it is. For the supporting document, it is very similar, but slightly more comprehensive. Essentially, you add a description, you then add a document, and this here will show whichever documents that you've uploaded already. In this case, we don't have any uploaded, so that I can show you how it works. You just click here on the upload button. It will bring up this file manager. You select the file that you want to upload. You upload it, and there we are. It was successfully uploaded. And now I can just select it, and it is linked as the supporting document to this question. Because some of the documents we are asking for are quite long and complex and sometimes in other languages, we would request that you add the page number of where the evidence actually is located within the document. If it is on a page range, you can also type in a page range. If it is on a set of different questions, you can separate them by commas, for example. It just helps us identify where the evidence is. And if it is across the entire document, right, in this case, it's just a one-page document, you can just type 0, and that way we'll know that we have to look at the entire document. And if you know, of course, you can also add the paragraph of the evidence, but that's not compulsory. Okay, so we've now filled out this answer, the answer to this question. And once complete, you just click here on Save Answer. And this will then bring you back to whichever section you were looking at. And as you can see here, it will move up the percentage of progress within that section. So the social section here is still at 0 because we've not answered anything. This has gone up to 6. Our overall performance has gone up to 1% completed. And something else that has changed here is just this little green tick box, which shows that you've answered the question. Okay, I think that's all that I need to share with you about how to answer and delegate questions. If anything else around this pops up later, there'll be time for questions on this. Right. So of course, as I've just shown, you can upload documents through each individual criteria as you're answering them. But if you've prepared all these documents in advance and you want to upload all of them at once, you can go here to the file manager and then upload the files. Yeah, works the same. Just select whichever files and then you click up open and it'll upload those files. And just so you know, the maximum file size is 30 megabytes. So we hope that this will be enough to upload any of the strategies that your city may have. Okay. When it comes to the FAQ, this is of course quite important to look at every now and then. If there's something that you're concerned about, something that you don't know how to do, then please go into the FAQ before asking us in person. Yeah. And you can use the search bar here. It should help a little bit. So if you're concerned about how do I actually add how do I add photos, for example, or maybe let's go to delegate. How do I delegate questions? Then this question will appear. You just simply click on the view button and there we are. A short overview and a video to accompany that question and answer will be presented. Now, of course, we haven't included all things in here, but something else before moving on. I want to show you that there is a category called templates. Yeah, and you can also search this if you like, and just to see all the templates. And these are essentially the templates for collecting data that should help you to collect the data correctly and make it a little bit easier for you. So these are, for example, Excel formatted Excel files to help you collect information on hotel certification data, for example, or on university data. Now, we won't have all the questions answered here. There will be some that come up as you as you do this, as you go through the benchmark, there will be little problems that pop up. And if this is the case, on every page, you can see this little question mark in the bottom right corner. By clicking on it, this little pop-up menu will appear, and you can say, you know, I like something, I don't like something. You can give us some feedback through it. You can give us suggestion. You can mention that you found a bug, and you can ask new questions. So you just write a test question here, no, well, an actual question when you have one, and then you simply send the feedback. And this will send the team a little notification and that you have sent us a question on something. This brings us neatly into the next point, which is the notifications page right here. And in the notifications page, this is where you will receive the responses to your questions. Now, I've done a mock-up for this already, so I've asked myself a question and then answered, and this is my answer right here. Yeah, so thank you for your question. Please click on the left here on this link to view the answer. And you as the destination can then respond to my answer by clicking reply, entering a message, and responding. Done. Now, these are the notifications. You'll also be able to see up here, there's this little bell icon with a little red number, and that just also shows that notification in a more easily accessible format. But it won't show the view link, so we recommend you go to the notifications if you want to see the answer, the answer in full. Okay. Now, this was sort of the first part of this presentation. The second is about how to edit your basic information destination photos, which are both what will be presented on the front end. So that is our public website and your destinations report page. So here you can edit what destination name you are, the city name that's set in stone, but we can change that for you if you want. You can edit the website URL. You can edit a YouTube URL of a video that will be displayed on your reports page. Something important to note there is that when you have a YouTube link, it usually has youtube.com and then a amendum, like a little additive. And this additive you have to sort of draw out in order for us to be able to load the video on our page. So this little description down here mentions that when you paste the link, you should only add the last part of that link after the V equals. And if this is unclear to you, feel free to ask questions later on, but this is how this works. And yeah, here you can edit your population, what type of city boundary you're looking at. The location details, again, is only something that we as the team can edit. So if you want something changed there, let us know. And then the destination summary, this is something that is again displayed on the front end website and really gives you an opportunity to describe what is great about the sustainability initiatives in your city or destination. So I would recommend you take some care in filling this out. And once you've done so, you can simply save, and then this will go live onto the public website. In a similar fashion, with the destination photos, you can simply add new photos. And as you can see here, the upload size is 5 megabytes and ideal dimensions are 1920 by 1280 pixels. And the upload system works the same as most. You simply click on the image file, you open it, you add the destination photo. It'll take a little bit to upload, and once it is uploaded, I'll just wait for that. You will be brought back to the overview here. Yeah? And you can, from here, from this overview, also delete photos in case you don't like the ones that are currently on the website and want to add new ones, updated ones. Okay. Now this brings me to the last point, which is the reporting. And this is sort of the most exciting for me, and hopefully also for you, which is essentially where you as the destination will be able to analyze your performance once you have completed the evaluation, completed the assessment. So this reporting section will vary from tier to tier. So the basic tier won't have this accessible. The standard tier will be able to look at the city insights, country insights, and region insights. And the premium tier members will also have access to the criteria insights. So just to show you how this works, you simply go into the city insights page, for example, you select the year that you want to be looking at for your city. And then you'll have this little performance element. You can change which of the 4 sections you want to be looking at, or of course the total score. In this graph here, you can add cities for comparison. To add Copenhagen's 2019 score, and I want to add my own Gothenburg, in this case, score from 2018. And then this graph will be dynamically generated. Again, like on the dashboard, you can click on the legend names to disable showing these graphs. And what is particularly neat, in my opinion, is you can also download these graphs. So you simply right-click and then save the image as. This may help you if you want to integrate this into a report for your city, for your mayor, something like that. And of course, on hover, you'll also see the more precise scores for each of those bars. The country insights and region insights work in exactly the same way. The criteria insights, they work slightly differently, in that you'll be presented with, well, each year's criteria, then you can have all this overview of how you've performed, right? And then here, you filter by section. So because this is a little bit unwieldy, there's too much information on this one page, I will say, okay, I actually only want to look at strategy. Yeah, so I will look at, second, I'll go to the DMO section and I'll select strategy. I'll apply this filter and I'll be presented with their scores for all the things in the DMO filter, in the strategy section. And then I can add here, you know, other destinations, just for comparison. And okay, Copenhagen and Gothenburg are performing pretty well, as we can see. Okay, let me just double check that I haven't missed anything.
Noah, good question. Is there a limit to how many cities you can compare when you're doing these comparisons?
That's a good question. I believe the limit will be set to around 20, but that's quite a lot. So really, ideally, you won't add that many just for the sake of making the graphs themselves a little bit unwieldy. It would just become a bit big. So yeah, I mean, okay, no, never mind. I won't really showcase how it would look, but you can try that in your own time, in your own account.
And one question maybe some people will have is, because if you remember, 2020 is a little bit different. We've got a weird year, a COVID weird year, as we all know. And so, we've added this option, what we call you choose, if you remember. And so some of you have chosen to, and will choose to do a full benchmark. Some of you will choose, for whatever reason it is, to just look at one area, or some of you choose not to benchmark at all and to switch the hours for consulting. And that's okay. But because of that, it means we're not going to be doing a public benchmarking, because at the moment, we kind of expect not all the data to be there. But that doesn't mean, even though we don't do the public ranking, the data is not in the system. So just as Noah was then showing you can benchmark against other cities, whoever city has uploaded their data and gone through the process, you will see them as an option to compare against. So if it's yourself, you'll see Gothenburg 2020, for example, and you may look at Copenhagen. Maybe Copenhagen has done it, so then you see Copenhagen 2020. If they haven't done it, you just see Copenhagen 2019. So that way we still have all the power of the benchmarking in the system, but we're not doing the public ranking this year, which we decided on. Ironically, we only think there's about, well, not as many people in the end are not doing the ranking as we expected. Most people seem to, sorry, the benchmarking as we expected. Most destinations seem to have chosen that anyway. So. Good. Great. Okay. Noah, I cut you off there, but is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I just wanted to ask for questions from anyone. You know, is there anything that wasn't unclear as I did it? Because there's a lot to cover, and I covered a lot, and I've been looking at this for months now, And in my head, it makes sense, but did it make sense in yours? Okay, I see a lot of nodding. That's great.
Yeah, nodding and thumbs up. Yeah.
So as I said, all of the things that I've just covered are covered also in the FAQ. And I've made little videos to describe each of these things in more detail. So Mathieu, Olivier, you asked about sharing this with your teammates. This video will be recorded, of course, and you can share it, but I think looking at the FAQ will actually be more helpful because it is much shorter videos on each of the individual actions without the filler words that I may have used just now.
So respect to Noah and his team of IT developers who've done an amazing job with the platform. I think you can see it's night and day compared to what we did before, which was night and day to what we had before. So we're on a long journey. And this is a whole new technology. There's technology behind this. It's pretty fancy. And in the future, it allows us to do artificial intelligence and lots of other stuff that we will come in time as we go through things. But most important, I think, really is that last bit, which you really didn't have before, is this power to do your own intelligence, your own business analysis of the data. And there's going to be a lot more available in the future as we develop new ideas. And so, as ever, it gets better with usage, it gets better with your comments, it gets better with your feedback. So please tell us if you don't like something. You saw that new fancy question box and feedback box. Please use that, and all of your input will make it better. That's how we're improving every day. It's a team project.
Okay, great. So anyone would have any questions still? So before we move on, speak out now, or or you will be able anyway to ask questions later on as well. And as always, we are always there. So with this, without further ado, I would like to pass on to Rebecca, who will talk about the updated criteria from last year to this year. So Rebecca, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. Can you see my screen? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. Here we go. Okay, thank you. Morning, everybody. So here we go with a short presentation for the GDS Index criteria launch for this year, which will be followed by a Q&A session. So please do let us know if you have questions and queries regarding the new criteria for this year. So as many of you know, we updated our purpose earlier this year to inspire, engage and enable destinations to become regenerative, flourishing and resilient places to visit, meet in and thrive in. Little did we know at the time how relevant that would be for 2020, given the circumstances. And how do we fulfill our purpose? So we help destinations to co-create their tourism and event strategy, benchmarking, improving sustainability performance, and building capacity to transform value chains and catalyze regeneration. We currently have 60 destinations within our GDS movement. And this year we'll also be welcoming various new and larger and smaller cities and regions, including Montreal, Vienna, Toulouse, Vorarlberg, Dijon, and the island of Fyn in Denmark, and also Limerick and County Clare in Ireland. So we're extremely excited about the index again this year. So the index governance structure remains the same in 2020. We review and update the criteria each year, both in the spirit of continual improvement to address any concerns that may have emerged with the previous index, and also to ensure that the index stays relevant to current events and trends. So 2020 sees the fourth revision of the GDS criteria. The GDS criteria is aligned and informed by the US Sustainable Development Goals, the GSTC destination criteria, the United Nations World Tourism Organization One Planet Vision project, and also this year, for obvious reasons, we have aligned with the European Cities Marketing DMMO continuity checklist. The review is also receives an in-depth review by the GDS Technical Advisory Committee. So they are a team of destination sustainability experts from NGOs, DMOs and cities around the world. And we also have a consultation session with participating destinations from the index to get their feedback on what would be the best changes for the following year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Noah.
Rebecca, I just wanted to mention quickly that you are presenting in presenter view, so I can see. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but the
No,
actual slides are not full screen yet. Maybe you want to change that.
Okay, thank you.
Helps a little bit for everyone to see it.
Is that better?
It's coming. Yeah, that's better.
All right, okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the categories for 2020 will remain the same. As most of you know, we have 4 categories, which are environment, social, supplier, and the DMO. The first 2 environment and social categories are come from data mainly collected from the city. The third, suppliers, obviously the data that comes from the suppliers, and the fourth, the data comes from the DMOs. We've made some slight changes to the subcategories. So we now have resources, which was previously waste management. We have health and wellness, which was previously health and well-being. And in the DMO section, we have changed sales and marketing to marketing and communications, and community action and collaboration is updated to generating impact. So they're just some slight changes to accommodate the new criteria that we've integrated. But the main change this year will be our focus on regeneration and the visitors economy that now represents the purpose of the GDS index. So this year you will see new and improved criteria in leisure tourism, climate change, resilience, health, crisis management, circular economy, and measurement, impact and strategy development. So we're going to look at the different criteria one by one. So for environment, as I said before, this data comes from the city. As Noah has shown you, you can delegate these criteria to the city so that they can update the information directly in the system. We will have a continued focus on climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies, carbon emissions, renewable energy, waste and water management, and public transport. New for this year, we will be awarding points for the recognition of the threat of climate change and the declaration of a climate emergency. We will also be promoting the integration of a circular economy or reuse strategies to design out waste and pollution in cities. And we will also be rewarding steps to reduce the amount of pollution due to transport, i.e. low emission zones, low emission public transportation, and initiatives to keep traffic out of cities. In the social, as I said before, a lot of data comes from the city, but also from some external sources. And we gather that information at the GDS Index and upload it on your behalf. So those external sources include United Nations, European Union, where relevant, Social Progress Imperative, and the Corruption Perceptions Index. The main changes for the social category include rewarding of the implementation of a crisis management plan that references tourism and events, sustainability, and man-made and natural disasters. We'll also be rewarding the adaptation of public transport and facilities to support improved accessibility for those with disabilities. For suppliers, obviously the data comes from your suppliers. We will also have a continued focus this year on sustainability certification, policies, and the inclusion of sustainability in tourism and hospitality and event management education. Changes this year include the lowering of the minimum size of hotels to 30 rooms. So until now, that's been 50 rooms. And that's in order to accommodate the smaller destinations within the index. We have such a range of members now of different types of cities, different regions. It's it can be challenging to make sure the criteria are really relevant to everybody, but we are trying to integrate the comments that we receive throughout the year to ensure that the GDS index is as relevant as possible for all of our members. So we also will have a greater focus on local implementation for circular economy and waste initiatives. And we're also going to ask this year for a greater precision in the requirements for sustainability policies. So as most of you are aware, we ask for sustainability policies for suppliers and also for the DMO. We receive a very wide range of sustainability policies, which is due to the fact that there is no international standard on what constitutes a sustainability policy, but we believe that we really have an opportunity to raise the bar, to raise the quality on sustainability policies. And so we have actually written a guide for you, which we will share with you. I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute, so that you can see what are the best practices for integrating into sustainability policy, both for you and for your suppliers. And lastly, category of DMO. Obviously, the data comes from the DMO itself. Again, continued focus on long-term sustainability strategy with SMART goals and KPIs for environment, social and economic issues. We're still looking at widespread stakeholder consultation, sustainability and procurement policies, sustainability certification, destination-wide training, measurement and reporting, soft mobility and DMO guidance for clients. Changes will be a recognition for those destinations who leverage events and tourism as a resource to drive social, environmental and economic impact. We'll be recognising those destinations who campaign to public authorities for improved policy measures and funding to accelerate the development of a sustainable tourism and event sector. We'll be asking for a greater precision in data collection and reporting to demonstrate how tourism events can positively and or negatively impact sustainability issues in the destination. We really want to ensure that destinations are monitoring and measuring. You cannot improve if you don't already know what your results are. So we're really going to be pushing that again this year. We'll be rewarding destinations who provide support to their clients to increase sustainability performance and the impact of the events. We'll be encouraging strategy review to address risks and learnings, incorporating new goals as a result of major external issues and crisis. We'll also be rewarding the provision of up-to-date, reliable information regarding health and safety protocols in the destination. And we will also be promoting the development of staff training and skills programs around new strategic priorities for post-COVID-19. And lastly, I just wanted to explain that we also have developed what we call a GDS Index Tool Box for destinations to support you in your submissions. So Noah already touched on some of these contents, but we will be providing for you a full benchmarking support document with lots of information there on best practice and how you can complete the GDS Index. As I say, we will be providing a report on a guide on how to write a sustainability policy with best practice that we think that you should include there. We understand that certifications can be a bit of a minefield. There are so many on the market, so we are going to be producing and sharing with you a certifications guide. We also have a regenerative events checklist. We will be supplying templates for collecting data. As I said before, data is really important for measuring sustainability, and we really need, the GDS Index is a type of audit, so we really need to see evidence when you're submitting your criteria, your responses to the criteria. So we're providing these documents, including the templates, to really support you to have the best possible chance of submitting the best possible data for you for your destination. And we'll also be providing an engagement support document to help you to engage your suppliers and city stakeholders in your submission for the index. And we'll also be providing you with the FAQ page, which Noah mentioned earlier. So that's a lot of information. Perhaps you have questions or queries that we can help you with, or maybe you want to talk about it after, submit the questions after the call.
So just to jump in there, you can see that a massive amount of work has gone into this. We did a lot of the work the end of this year, the beginning of this year. So lots of input from destinations, lots of input from the advisory board. And then COVID happened. So we kind of like threw us up. We didn't know what to do. So we really thought hard about how to integrate this COVID situation. And we decided that we didn't want to do a COVID index, but we wanted to learn from the lessons of COVID. So the criteria has been adapted since then, really to kind of not say, you know, do you have a COVID task force, for example, but do you have, you know, do you review your health and safety protocols after a major incident or crisis? So kind of learnings that will last a much longer time for you, because sadly, I think we're going to have other crises that we're going to have to deal with. So we want to kind of prepare you for dealing with what's to come, not kind of what you're dealing with now. So really big focus on that. Massive thank you to everyone who provided the input, to the technical advisory committee who really went through this, and some other destinations. Some of you are on here have really given us some great input. So thanks very much, everyone, and a big thank you to Rebecca, who's done a lot of work on this.
Thank you very much. Rebecca, you still have?
Great. So
I love Olivia's comment. He says he thinks we've been working day and night during the confinement. I don't know. It feels like that sometimes, Olivia.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. So I think you all can appreciate all that went into there, and I think it's very visible, the advancements to see. So on the one side, on the technical side, but then also on the practical and operational side, how to help you to get forward.
And what's so much better this year is when you click on the guidelines, on the help button, basically, there's so much more information there to help you answer the question. So we spent a lot of time there, and that has all come because of the questions you've asked us. So when you've asked us a question, we always save it, and then we use that to update our supporting text and guideline text.
Yeah. Okay. Well, talking about hard work, I'm sure we're not alone in this. I'm sure you've all been working pretty hard these past months. So we want to now break up this, very information-rich session so far with a little energizer to think about our holidays. And this will get messy. We'll use Miro for it. So Victoria, could you please share the Miro link in the chat box? To everyone, could you please open this link, ideally in your Chrome browser, if you have Chrome open, that works best. Otherwise, Firefox, Safari, also fine. And what you'll be presented with, I'll just share my screen real quick, is this view. So I will actually, just 1 second, I will ask everyone to join me. Okay, so I hope that everyone just joined and can see this screen here. As you can see, we've created a little mock person here, which is Sandro, who is from Rome and feeling pretty positive, right? With a motorbike, he's feeling pretty positive and wild and would like to go to, I don't know, is that Switzerland? Potentially. And then would like to be in the sun and by the sea during the holiday. So this will get messy, it can get messy. So we just invite you to use this board to put in your name. You can just double click into any of the boxes to type, yeah? And in order to add images, you simply go here to the 3 dots. You can use the Google image search to add images. And in order to draw pretty pictures like this, you just use this pen feature and yeah, whichever color you want, and then just your cursor to draw something nice. Okay, I'll stop sharing. Actually, no, I won't stop sharing my screen. I'll leave this up. And that way we can see what is going on the board. And you'll have around 5 minutes for this, so yeah. Don't take it too seriously. Just play around with it a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say let's all return to the Zoom window if we can. And as you can see in the shared screen here, it's gotten a beautiful mess, but with some beautiful places. So some people want to go into space, it seems. Others, others to Moorish palaces, and oh no, they are okay, and want to go and visit beautiful gorges. I can't quite tell where that is. Others want to go to Amsterdam, and is that?
What is that? That's
Is that?
that.
Not sure if that's Brisbane or.
Whoops.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'll stop sharing this for now, and I'll hand over to Claudia. I hope you guys had fun. It got a bit messy, but you got to see some beautiful places as we did it.
Exactly. I hope you dreamt a little bit away. So what we will going to do next is we will go into breakout rooms now. And as said today, it's all around the benchmarking. And of course, you will have a lot of good information after having done last year's benchmarking. So we would ask you, and this is all what you will, and we will use Mural and Miro. I always mix that up. Miro, we will use Miro again, and where you will find the questions already, so you don't have to write them down, but I still read them to you before we will split you up. And the questions are, as we now start a new benchmarking season, is like, what have been your main challenges in 2019 when doing the benchmarking? And what were your biggest learnings to plan to take this into this year? And what do you think could be helpful for other destinations and your peers to know or to plan for? And so these questions are already pre-prepared in Miro, and so you're happy to discuss them or share with your peers and write down whatever comes to you or you think would be useful to know. You will have 12 minutes, and the link for the Miro, Victoria, could you please share the link again for the Miro? So it's basically close to the holiday season, just a little bit on the bottom, but just in case, if you could share it again. Thank you, Victoria. So you just go on the link again, and you will now go into breakout rooms, and your breakout room will be your breakout space on the Miro board. So you will see the number group 1 if you are breakout room 1, and so on. Yeah.
And if you didn't do, if this is your first year, if you didn't do benchmarking last year for any reason, then I'm sure you did some other kind of benchmarking with other data, or you're considering thinking about data around sustainability. So share what you've been doing today with the group and ask questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so see you in 12 minutes then.
Okay.
Now everybody's coming back. Yeah, great. Welcome back, everyone. So there have been quite traffic on the Miro board again, and maybe someone would like to share something from their group or from their own experience into the wider group. That would be actually very lovely to hear. So yeah, Anne-Laure, yeah, please.
Okay, hi everybody. So we were in a group with, so I'm sorry, I'm totally bad at Miro. I had never used it, so I just put it down on a Word, so I'm just going to say it out on the Word page.
Perfect.
I couldn't even put my name and on the board just to say what destination I wanted to go on holiday to. So I'm terribly sorry about that. Anyhow, so we were in a group with Sapporo, Zurich, terribly sorry, an Austrian town I've already forgotten, which is Sabine, if you can say it again, and myself. And so basically, what came out of the 3 questions, I'm just putting my word back up. So for the first question, the biggest problem, first of all, was Zurich and Sapporo have been answering the GDS index since 2016, but still, first of all, gathering the information is the biggest problem that that we've encountered. And it was the first time for me last year for Nantes. And basically, I mean, the information was there because I think Nantes is a very much sustainable city turned towards, but the gathering the information was just an absolute nightmare. For Zurich, which she said, which is interesting, is since they have been doing it since 2016, the contacts are there. So it's getting easier and easier. And I think that might be the case for Nantes for 2020. That was the first thing that came out. The second question we answered with what would be good for other destinations, and Zurich had a very interesting idea that I thought is the main problem is always very, very hard for them to get the information from the hotels. So what they did is that they contacted directly the certifications, which is Green Globe and ISO for 35, for instance, for that country, and they gave them the list of the hotels who are certified, which makes it much easier than contacting all the hotels. We didn't have time for the biggest learnings, so that's the 2 questions we've been answering.
Wow, thank you very much. That was really very insightful. And anyone else who would like to share from their experience out of their group and add to what Anne Laude? Anne Laude, do I say your name correctly? Sorry about that.
It's Anne-Laure.
Anne-Laure. Okay.
But that's no problem. I won't be offended.
Anne-Laure. So anyone who would like to add to Anne-Laure? Otherwise, if I don't see any signs, yeah, Noah, please go ahead.
So lots of good points raised in our discussion also, with Frode from Bergen and Marie and I think Becky. And one of the things that was mentioned was the issue of language and having documents that are in a different language, not having them in English essentially. And just something I want to share with everyone is that we do accept them in any language, as long as they are in a PDF format. So as long as they're in a PDF format, we can get them translated and work with them. So I hope that is useful information for those that may not have known this. As I showed you, it's important to add the page number and the paragraph number, if possible, especially in those cases, because it'll help us find that piece of data that proves that your answer is correct. Something else that popped up, which isn't really an issue, it's more just a concern that Becky brought up, which is about what about the data from the previous year? How can we have that accessible? And this is actually something that I should have mentioned when I was showing you the platform, which is that, I'll just bring it up actually, that for each of the questions that maps to last year, because there's some new questions which obviously won't map, below the answer, there's actually a previous answer. And this will be the answer for 2019 in this particular case. So you will essentially be able to easily import last year's questions into this year's. You shouldn't, of course, you should make sure that the number is still correct, but this should help you identify what it was last year. And yeah, that process of answering the questions probably eased by having that little amendment. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Noah. Thank you, Noah. Great. And any general questions that you would have which are not related to this? And we are having a little guest with Olivier. Very nice. We spotted him. Very good. And otherwise, I would like to also, Guy, is there anything that you would like to add to this, to the whole time together, to the last one? So happy to have your feedback.
No, I just think a couple of things. So what wasn't mentioned, Nora, what's the date cities have until they submit data?
Good question. So you'll have until the 17th of October. Yeah, so that should give everyone enough time, we hope. And something else to mention is that you will receive a follow-up message. Everyone will receive a follow-up message to this call with all this information included. So it will also include some of the templates, the toolbox, you know, all these types of things.
Sure.
And of course the date.
We invite you to submit the data earlier than the 17th of October. It's having 60 cities giving us the data on one day does create a little bit of work for us. So if you do it earlier, it spreads it out for us and we can actually sleep, which is good. Yeah, so yeah, as soon as you give it to us, we will actually can start to work on it. What else?
Somebody's asking here in the chat box,
Please.
what's the difference, Rudolf Garcia, what's the difference between index and a standard?
Okay, so so a standard is a good question. So you could say there's an auditable standard such as EarthCheck hotel standard. So that's a standard that is third-party audited. It follows a very similar process to create the standard that we do. We follow kind of international regulations, but behind an auditable standard that we're not, there's quite a complex process that should follow something called ISO 17064, I believe the number is. There's an actual process of you following it and auditing and how you separate consulting from auditing. You should never have those in the same organization. And as we do that, so we do a lot of consulting, we deliberately separate those out. We don't make the index an auditable standard as of today. However, we do have a partnership with, at the moment, with EarthCheck to take cities who want to onto the next level, which is a full certification for your destination. And if you think indexing is tough, that's a whole other level. That's a big journey. And very worthwhile, but you've got to commit to that if you really want to go on that journey.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was another question from Sabine about choosing the categories, and I'll answer that. So the question is, can the categories be changed during the process? And the answer is no. Once you've selected the answers at the beginning, this sets it in stone within the system, and we can't change it, unfortunately. Of course, if you only want to be benchmarked on something, then we could potentially give you an internal report that excludes that, but it wouldn't reflect within the platform itself, just due to the way that the data is organized. So make sure that you know what you want to benchmark before you select.
Mm-hmm.
Good. We have a beautiful, lovely website that is in development at the moment, which will get launched July the something. I can't remember what we said.
July 8th.
8th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So our next call will be showing you the beautiful website. Most important, we'll be launching a whole new initiative called the Gds Movement. So we'll be preparing that and sending that to you. We'll also be inviting some other speakers, which we haven't quite decided on yet. So the next few days we'll decide who that's going to be. So we'll probably come out to you to understand who you'd like to hear from as well. We have different ideas whether we want to go down on more of a kind of tourism and sustainability route in the future of tourism, whether we want to go maybe more kind of leadership, how you kind of lead through these periods of uncertainty and change. We have another option around climate reality, and if we can present more on kind of climate change and what's happening around the world on that. Or there's a potential, another one was around health and wellness, that individual stuff. So maybe we'll do a little poll, Noah, and we'll send some options.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to be doing another session on best practice as well coming up. As well.
Right. Mm-hmm. And to that one, I would like to add that the next session for the Feel the Pulse will be on the 8th of July, which is a Wednesday, like same place, same time, in 3 weeks from now. And then on the following day, the Thursday, also in the morning, we will do what Guy just mentioned, this best practice, and we will go in detail through the toolbox and really everything around benchmarking purely benchmarking tips and tricks and whatever behind the scene, everything that you would always wanted to know or still want to know. So so we will do this actually then on the day after, on the 9th, Thursday 9th, also in the morning.
Great. So I guess I'll just leave it by saying thank you. Thank you to everyone who's helped participate into this process, from the team side, from the advisory board, from the destinations who've helped us come up with this. I'm really excited. It's another big step change for us, I think, in terms of a better index, more holistic, more focused on the visitors economy, more focused on regeneration, which we didn't know when we made that decision is so relevant today. And I think we're ready. We've got lots more new destinations, and so we're excited to see this grow. So thank you very much. Thanks to the team for this work, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, everyone.